Hey everybody, it's Trevor here with the channel where every day is range day, and in this week's video I figured I'd go through my top 3 favorite things that I put on my AR. Let's check it out. Now getting into this, a couple things I considered when picking my top 3 were 1, how maybe often I use this particular feature, if it's a key touch point or something like that on the rifle, how much it's interacting with how I use it or carry it around with me. And then also one of the things that maybe improved, at least the way I think, have improved my shooting the most after having added it. Those type of things are what I considered. Let me know your top 3 at the end of the video. So getting into this again in order, at number 3, for my top 3 favorite things I put on this rifle, I gotta give it to this Trex-Arms Sling on here. I've done a couple videos of this on the past as well as my full review, and I gotta say I really love this thing. And one of the reasons I really do is because I've had a bad sling before in the past, and I really appreciate what something like this Trex-Arms model can do for you, and more about what it might not do for you as well. The old sling I had a lot of extra stuff on it, little buckles, pull tabs, pouches, a lot of extras. And it was always getting in the way. It probably weighed 3 times as much, and it was just pretty cumbersome. Apart from the neat storage option here on the Trex-Arms Sling, where you can just pull it and boom, you have your sling. That's really all there is to it. It's got a little pull tab here that's very handy for adjusting the throw on the sling. And otherwise, it's pretty minimalist, and that's really what I love about it. It's not in the way, it doesn't clog you down with any kind of excess features, weird pull tabs and pouches and other knickknacks that are kind of more novelties than something that you'd actually use a sling for. I don't really like all that stuff, especially after having that old sling. This thing checks all the boxes for what a sling ought to do, which is pretty much hold the rifle to you, and doesn't do too much more, and I really love it for that. The minimalist sling approach is definitely the thing for me. This Trex-Arms one's built with quality materials. Looks like it should stand the test of time. It's comfortable, I use it great, don't even know it's hardly there, and it made a big difference for me when I'm carrying this thing around all day at the range. It's not clanking into me or being a mess or a hindrance at all. You barely know it's there. Comfortable enough with this wide webbing here. It's easy to use. What else do I gotta say? And again, I said one of the big reasons why I would rank something in my top 3 here is how much I would use it, or maybe it's a key touch point on the rifle. And that leads me to number 2, which is a strong, very close tie for number 1 for me. But number 2, I gotta go with the Ambidextrous safety selector from Radian on here. It has the normal 90-degree throw on the front where you would expect it to be. Then on the other side of the receiver has another tiny safety selector that's really easy to hit with your index finger. So for me, usually when I'm shooting and you have the rifle on safe, you bring the gun up to fire, pretty easy for me to hit that thumb switch and go to work. But from there, I don't really like this action of having to flip the thumb up and pop the safety selector that way. So once I go up and I'm in the fire selection, I find it real easy to just kind of curl this hand back to pop it back onto safe. It does 2 good things for me. I do find it to be just a bit more comfortable, of course, but it adds additional safety because it takes your finger off the trigger when you're going to pop it into safe, which is what you're looking to do anyways. I don't really like using the thumb switch on the other side for that. I don't know, find it a little bit uncomfortable. And when I first got this AR and it didn't have that safety on there, just kind of, I don't know, a common nuisance for me. And then I quickly upgraded that, and of course the Radian Raptor charging handle there. But I gotta say, the Ambi safety selector is a tough thing for me to live without in the future on any other guns I might have. It's just super easy for me to flip that with a thumb and then curl my hand back just like that. I don't know, it's one of the most frequent touch points on the rifle aside from maybe the trigger, and just that little bit of curling action on the finger there. It's a lot more comfortable when I'm gripping the weapon, and I don't know, it's one of my favorite things, one of my favorite upgrades. I would highly recommend it. Quality part from Radian. It's just all that much more comfortable for me. So that's why I ranked it number 2. Number 1 was a tough one for me, especially with this Ambi safety selector here in the number 2 spot. But I gotta give my number 1 favorite addition to my AR to the Magnifier here. Some people might be confused as to why I don't put the optic itself on this list. And I get what you're saying there to an extent. I mean, why would I rank the Magnifier when you need the optic to really get its full use? But most people have these on their guns anyways. It's kind of a necessity, and while I do like it, it doesn't really make me a better shooter. I didn't feel like it made me better having this over the irons. It's definitely faster to pick up. I don't really touch or interface with it too much all day. So I didn't really put the optic on here because of those reasons. But this Magnifier I touch it quite a bit if you're going from, you know, under 50 yards to maybe over. It's pretty easy to flip in and out of place like that. But my eyesight is really not the best, even with glasses. And I know that sounds a bit like an excuse. I don't know, maybe it is. But with this magnifier here, I really felt like my accuracy improved tremendously past, you know, 75 yards or so. I have some trouble with this particular optic, just seeing what I was shooting at, let alone, you know, placing the dot over. It'd be tough to see a little steel plate that far out for me. Again, my eyes aren't the greatest with the glasses and all that type of junk, but it's real easy to flip out of the way when I don't need it. But if I'm going out past 75 yards or so, pop that up there and it's night and day for me. Might be a personal preference of mine, of course, but I mean, the glass is super clear on it. Really wasn't that much money. I have the HM3XT, so the fancy titanium one. But that 3x magnification at the 200 yards and stuff like that, night and day difference from me. About can't even see something at 200 yards, so I feel like that really opened up a lot more of the performance of the rifle just for me. And it also helped with the eyesight and just, you know, longer range accuracy. Huge in my book. Definitely improved my performance with the weapon that far out before, because I couldn't even see anything. And I think it's a quality piece at that from Holosun. And that's why I ranked it #1. I touch it a lot while I'm using the rifle to flip it in and out if you're going from close to farther out. And I think it is probably the single biggest thing that improved my shooting at long range, because hey, you can't really shoot what you can't see, and this has definitely fixed my problem. And that looks like it's going to be it for the video today, guys, on the top 3 favorite things that I have put on my AR. #3 was this nice minimalist sling from Trex-Arms. Does absolutely everything I need, doesn't get in the way. I absolutely love it for that. #2 is the Ambi safety selector from Radian. I'm a big fan of using it the traditional way with my thumb to switch it to fire. But when I'm done with the trigger, I like to curl my finger off and rock the gun back onto safe that way. It's one of the highest touch point items on the rifle here. I use it all the time, and it's just that much more comfortable for me instead of using the thumb on both sides, which just isn't my favorite way to use the safety. And then #1, of course, is this Holosun 3X magnifier I have on here, the titanium version. My eyes aren't the best, and this really helped me maximize the performance of the rifle out past 75 or 200 yards or so. Before then, it's just tough to even see what I'm shooting at. Pop this bad boy on here, everything's crystal clear, and I'm nailing those shots all day long. If you like this video, feel free to leave a like down below, and if you have any questions about anything you've seen on the rifle or my top 3, definitely leave them down below in the comments, and let me know what your top 3 favorite things are that you've upgraded on your own ARs. I'd love to hear what you have, maybe plan a couple of those items in my next build. And as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, where every day is range day. Thanks for watching.
That was pretty smooth.
That was good.
That's smooth.
You know you need your dry fire in your bathroom.